and welcome to the channel. This is Mikhailov from Team Retro, where we like retro games and the devices that bring them to us. With 2024 coming to an end very soon, I've gotten quite a few controllers into the studio, so I thought since we're getting so close to Christmas, I would kind of round out the year with going over and reviewing these 4 controllers that I got in, and figuring you're probably going to be watching this video after Christmas, you've probably gotten some gift cards, you probably are looking how to spend them, and maybe these controllers are going to scratch that itch and be worth your hard-earned dollar bucks. So we've got quite a bit of content to cover here and not a lot of time, so let's dive in and get to work. Now here on the screen are the 4 controllers that we are going to be covering in today's video, and these were all sent to me by various companies. This one here, the Ashura 2 Pro, was sent to me by Beitong for the purposes of this review. These 2 8-bit Do controllers were sent to me by Acnis, and this Switch controller was sent to me by Mobapad. And as is always required, all opinions are my own, I'm not getting paid, and they are not seeing this video before it is published. And this content's going to be just a little bit different from my traditional videos because this review is all going to be done live via my multicam setup. So all my commentary is going to be unscripted, all my testing is going to be live, and all my impressions and reactions are going to be on the spot. So I'm going to be getting opinions on these controllers at the same time that you are going to be seeing them. And so I want to start first with the 2 controllers that are specifically meant for the Nintendo Switch, and we'll do kind of a comparison of these 2 as we go. Now this one is the Mobapad N1 controller, and I've actually unboxed this already, so I'm not going to be able to really show you the unboxing experience here, but we will do a quick tour of it. And then this is the Ultimate 2C Bluetooth controller, which is the Switch version of the 8-bit Do 2C line. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the Ultimate 2C, and we're going to do this unboxing live right here. Alright, so in the box, first thing you get is a quick start guide. It shows you actually a little bit about this controller, and there are some aspects about it that are actually pretty unique that we're going to get to in this review here. One is this is how you can set up the fast bumpers, which is very interesting to me. Apparently you hold the star button here, and then you press one of the bumpers, and then if you want to do a single button map, you will press the button that you want, and then that will set it to be whatever button you want that to actually trigger. So they're meant to be extra buttons on the top of the device, and that's kind of an interesting choice, and I could already think of a couple of different use cases where I might want to map something to those buttons. And then you could also do a multiple buttons mapping, where if you press one of those bumpers on the top, it's going to press both buttons at the same time. Here you also get a standard USB-C to USB-A cable. There is that 8-bit Do branding on it, and these are usually pretty good quality. So here is the controller itself. Let's do a little bit of ASMR while we're at it here. There it is. All right, and you can tell that this is clearly meant for the Switch. So here you have the bumpers and the triggers, and these are of course going to be digital because the Nintendo Switch doesn't necessarily do an analog setup with its controllers and its bumpers, but the triggers themselves aren't that noisy. Here are the bumpers. Very clicky and noisy there. And then up top you have your sync button, you have your USB-C charging, you have an indicator light, and then here, right in between the bumpers and the triggers, are the L4 and R4, and you can map these to whatever you feel is appropriate. So we'll give that a shot when we get into actual game testing. Then you have your full-size joysticks. Good feel here. Let's check the D-pad. Nice mushy D-pad. You have your home and your screenshot capture, and then you have your plus and your minus button, and then this functions as your on and off button. At the bottom here, your indicator lights, and then on the back, some information about the device, of course, and then you could see here, first of all, this is an interesting dual tone color where you have the dark blue on the front, and then you have this kind of like sandstorm, this brownish color at the back. I don't necessarily think that this off-whitish color matches with the blue. I don't hate it, but I don't necessarily like it either. And then of course you have a nice textured back here, and this is going to be really comfortable in the hand to hold. And here on the Mobapad, you have very much a lot of the same features. Joysticks, your indicator lights are on the front as opposed to the bottom, but these bumpers are a lot quieter. Let's do a quick comparison here. Eight-bit do, very clicky. Mobapad, a little bit mushier. Now you don't have a button in the middle here with the Mobapad, that's just a logo. You're going to actually use the home button as your power. You still have USB-C on the top, you still have syncing on the top, you still have digital triggers, these are not analog, and you have a circle D-pad on the Mobapad, and this is the standard for the Mobapad controllers, but you can also swap out for a traditional D-pad style if you so choose. Now with the 8-bit do, you don't have that option that you would have here with the Mobapad. And in my opinion, it seems like the Mobapad is a little bit more fully featured, but then it also seems like this one is a little bit more fully featured. They both have their pros and cons here. You have back buttons and the interchangeable D-pad here, and you have the bumpers at the top here as opposed to having them on the back. So it's all a matter of preference here as to which one you're going to choose, and we're going to test out both of these now. That's an interesting musical tune. Let's put that closer to the mic so you can hear it. That's a very quick pairing process, and the music, I guess, is a bit of a nice touch. It's not loud or anything. I had to really put it up to the mic for you to be able to hear it, but it is just kind of a cute little musical touch. Doesn't really impact gameplay or anything like that. It's just something that's there. Unfortunately, this controller fails the Contra test miserably, at least with this circle D-pad. There's just no way to keep from triggering an accidental diagonal here, and that could mean the difference between life and death in a Contra game. So let's instead go ahead and put the cross-style D-pad on and see if we have any difference. No, this thing fails the Contra test miserably. There are false diagonals up the wazoo with this thing. Wow. I just died handily. Alright, now that I'm used to it, I'm starting to pull off some moves, but I would not say this is a good D-pad for fighting games. So, D-pad fails the Contra test, fails the Street Fighter test. See, in games where you're going to be working with mostly the joystick and the D-pad is just going to be a secondary function, you're probably going to be okay. But definitely, if you need D-pad centric games or you need a little bit more precision, this probably is not going to be the controller for you. Other than that, it does look and feel just fine. It plays like a controller, and for more modern games, yeah, you are probably going to have an okay time with this. Now let's go ahead and pair the 8-bit do controller. Alright, so doing the Contra test here, and yeah, this controller is a lot more rock solid. I'm definitely having better success with Hadoukens. Shoryuken seems to work. Let's do a tornado kick. Oh yeah. Much more solid D-pad than the Mobapad. I don't really have a lot of third-party non-Nintendo games on my Switch. Most of it's first-party stuff. So I guess here's some Skyrim. We'll take a look. I actually went through this game as Link because this particular version of Skyrim adds Breath of the Wild stuff like the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield. So yeah, I did a Link playthrough. I even made my character look like Link, and oh, that's right, I completely forgot. Last time I played this game, there was a dragon attacked me right at my house. For RPGs, this controller should be fine. Joystick-centric games should be fine. If you are more interested in playing D-pad centric games or having access to that D-pad, this controller is definitely going to serve you better than the Mobapad. So now let's compare price to these two controllers. The 8-bit Do 2C Switch version is currently $29.99 on Amazon through the Actness store, and the Mobapad N1 is currently $45.99 on Amazon. And I would honestly say these are both, pretty budget conscious controllers. This one feels lighter, this one feels a little heftier. Joysticks are about even on the both of them. And the only really point of contention here is the effectiveness of the D-pad. So, honest opinion, if I had to pick between these two, then I would probably go with the 8-bit Do, unless you really want back paddles or you really want that interchangeable D-pad, in which case it's going to cost you a little bit of extra money to possibly get a bit of a worse controller. But in the battle of wits between these two, if I had to choose, I would go with the 8-bit Do. So next up are the two controllers that are meant for Android and x86 devices. So we're going to start here with the Beitong Ashura 2 Pro, and this is shown as a mechanical wireless gamepad. So let's go ahead and start the unboxing here. In the box, you get a user manual. Here is the controller itself. Here is that wireless receiver right here in the box. And here's a fairly nice USB-A to USB-C cable. So now first impressions here is this controller definitely feels very light and plasticky at first. As a matter of fact, it almost feels kind of cheapy, but right off the bat, this is something right here that I am very excited for. Do you know how many controller manufacturers do not even think to have a spot built into the controller specifically for the wireless dongle? And right here, I'm going to give Beitong serious points for this, because that is a very nice addition. I am quite happy with that. Now, while we're on the back here, you do have some kind of texture, but this controller seems a little less grippy than any of the other controllers that I featured in this video. You have not bad sounding LB and RB. They're a little noisy, but they're not clicky. They just got a little bit of noise to them. These feel like analog triggers. Let's test out the D-pad. Very mushy, not clicky at all. This is actually a pretty quiet controller. Joysticks feel fine. Let's see, you have start, back, that's start and select. You have turbo, shift. We're kind of going to try and find out what some of those modes do. And then you have mappable back buttons. This is the star of the show, though. Actually being able to put that controller dongle right there in the controller and transport that with you. Despite how else this controller might be, I can't stop talking about that. Because, yeah. Controller companies. Pay attention to Beitong. So I'm going to go ahead and pair this controller with a brand new purchase that I just picked up yesterday. This is the Aineo Kun, and I've wanted this handheld for a while. I've wanted to review this for a while, so early 2025, expect this massive beast of a handheld to hit the channel. Probably after I come back from CES, I'm going to review this thing. But for now, I want to use it for two reasons. One, it has a USB-C-A connection, so it'll be easy to get that dongle connected. And two, we've got a nice big screen here, so we can pretty much see everything that's going on. And also, I'm going to throw in a 3 in there, is that this thing also runs Windows, so we can test out the Beitong controller software as well. Here's how we can test to make sure that these are analog triggers, and sure enough, these are indeed analog triggers. Because if I put just a little bit of pressure on it, you could see it only goes up a little bit, and then if I hammer down on it, it goes to 100%. So yeah, analog triggers, joystick dead zones seem pretty good. Rock solid D-pad. It's a good D-pad. Tornado kick is fine. Shoryukens are fine. Oh, Shoryukens are actually harder than I... There we go. There's my intentional diagonals. Alright, now in order to use the software, you do have to be directly plugged in. And this is what the Beitong software looks like. You can upgrade your firmware. You can upgrade your dongle as well. And so here is where you can map your different buttons to whatever you want it. It pretty much maps everything to everything. Here you can change the color. You could change vibration strength. Here's another spot to map the buttons. You can actually change trigger dead zones. You can actually change the turbo amount if you so choose. I was actually able to remap the buttons here to start and select. So now whenever I press the buttons on the back, those are going to be mapped as start and select. And you can change this around as needed if you need to change the face buttons or you need to do something with the triggers. Like you can do macros here. Here you can adjust joystick curves. You could do delayed, smooth, custom. And then here you can do your sleep mode function. You can calibrate the joysticks and you can calibrate the triggers. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and unbox the 8BitDo Ultimate 2C wireless controller. And this one works with Windows as well and also works with Android. And the unboxing experience here is very similar to the other 8BitDo controller that we unboxed earlier in this video. You have the USB-C cable, and then you have the controller itself with a user manual and a USB-C dongle. Form and functionally, these are going to be the exact same controller, right down to the L4 and R4 buttons at the top as opposed to on the back. The only difference here is you have a 2.4 gigahertz and a Bluetooth switch in the back, which is a nice little feature. And obviously the face buttons are going to be Xbox style instead of Nintendo Switch style. Now something happened to the Gamepad Tester app that I usually use on Android, so I went ahead and just went to the website because I wanted to test if these were analog triggers, and sure enough, analog triggers. There is a key difference here between this controller and the Switch one. These are digital triggers. These are just click, click, click. And these are definitely a more analog feel. And there is more travel to them as well. Now going over price, the 8BitDo controller again retails for about $29.99. And coincidentally enough, so does the Beitong Ashura 2 Pro. And I have nothing really but good things to say about both of these controllers. The only thing that you may want to consider between the two of them is whether you're going to be using Android or not, because you can use wireless Android without the dongle with the 8-bit Do, whereas you do need to connect the dongle for Android and Nintendo Switch with the Ashura 2 Pro, but you get the nice dongle storage, and I can't stop fixating on the dongle storage. That just is fascinating to me. And it's good to know that these are both the same price because you have two competitive options here depending on your use case. So in wrapping up, you have four pretty solid controller choices here. I would say if you're looking for a Switch controller, I would definitely pay less to get more with the 8-bit Do controller versus the Mobapad M1. But if you are looking for a Windows controller, either one of these two options will suffice. If you are looking for an Android solution, you definitely want to go with the 8-bit Do Android and Windows version. But let me know what you think in the comments below of these four controllers. Which one do you think is the most attractive for your use case? And which one of these do you prefer out of the four? And please feel free to continue the conversation in the Retro Handhelds and Steam Machine Discords, where you can find me hanging out in between videos. And if you want to support the show like these wonderful people here on the screen, you can do so by going to my Patreon page. Links to all these places are in the description. But that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if this was helpful to you in any way, please be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, bye for now, and don't stop believing.